Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you today about the Quadratus Lumborum, or the QL. I've gotten a couple of questions about this over the last month or so, and so I wanted to make a video for everyone so we know how to take care of it and make our kayaking even better. So the QL is a muscle that sits deeper in our core. It starts at the inside of the top of the hip, and then it attaches at the base of the rib cage. So we have one on each side. It's responsible for dipping side to side. It's responsible for back extension, for lifting those hips. It's responsible for breathing, for posture, and for turning side to side. So every kayaker uses their QL. It's a muscle we've never heard of until we have a lot of issues with it. So it's one of those things like we don't even realize we have it. So the main movement that we use it for, everybody across the spectrum of kayaking, is our roll. So if you've ever gone to do a roll, to roll up and your hip seizes or your side seizes, or you lose your power, momentum, or get a lot of pain, chances are that's your QL yelling at you. They tend to be stiff and weak, especially if you're working a 9 to 5. But even as kayakers, we do use them often. So even if you're on the water, 200, 300 days a year, chances are, if you are not stretching or doing mobility work, even though you are using those muscles, they are probably not conditioned. When we go to the gym, we think about strengthening the chest and the back, and we want to do abs and legs, but we don't think about all of those muscles in our inner core that really do a lot of the heavy lifting for us. So I'm going to take some time today and show you a few strengthening exercises for the QL and show you a few stretches too, because we want it to be both strong and we want it to be mobile. If we're not mobile, we have a shit roll because we have a bad range of motion. It also matters in things like your sleep strokes, and especially when you start to go do some higher level like creeks or play boating, you need to be able to rotate quickly and effectively. And if your muscles are tight and stiff and weak, you're just not going to have that performance. So what you need for this is a heavier weight if you can, and a band. So you've got a few options here. I'm gonna start with what's called a suitcase carry. If you've ever heard of a farmer's carry is a heavy weight on both sides. The suitcase carry is a weight on one side. The biggest thing is you want to have enough weight to make sure that you're recruiting those innermost muscles. A lot of people will just pick up a 10 or 15 pound weight and walk with it, and that's not really going to do anything. The thing about the suitcase carry, you don't want it to touch your leg, and you don't want to be leaning against it. You want your spine to be upright, and it can graze your leg, but you don't want it to rest on there. So you kind of want it out to the side. The further out you hold it, the harder your QL has to work. The second part about a suitcase carry is people tend to zoom down and zoom back when you're walking with it. You want to keep a nice steady pace. Momentum is not your friend here. So you hold it out to the side, you stand upright, and you're gonna walk forward for a distance, switch hands, and you'll walk back for a distance. Usually I have people walk about 20 yards with the suitcase carry. So you want it something not like 8 to 10 steps. If you have to count steps, count 20 to 30 steps each foot. The next thing, we're gonna keep this heavier weight and we're gonna do just a side dip. So feet are planted on the floor, knees are soft, not locked. You're gonna dip to one side and come up nice and tall. You're not gonna overextend onto the other side. So dipping just past the knee, coming up. Again, your ability to dip, like the depth that you can go, is dependent upon how tight and stiff your QL is. I will say I added all of these into my workout yesterday, and my sides are so sore today, so I'm looking forward to the stretches. Our third strengthening that I have is I'm going to use a band. You can use a band or a cable machine. I happen to have it tied around this awesome pole that I have in the middle of my apartment. You're gonna stand with your feet hips width apart. The side of your body faces the anchor point of the band. Your hands are gonna start just on the inside of your feet, and you're going to bring it right into the middle and then twist back. So this is a half chop. You're just bringing it to the midline of the body. You want to have resistance the entire time. If you don't have enough weight or resistance, you're not going to get work until you start partway through your movement. So make sure you're having resistance this entire time. And you want to control it. So when you come in the middle, make sure that you are stopping right in the midline of the body, that you're not just pulling back and forth. Again, just like with the suitcase carries, you don't just want to haul ass through the exercise. You want to be very mindful with how you move, even with a slight pause when you come out. So those are 3 exercises that you can do to strengthen. Again, suitcase carry. If you don't have heavy weights at home, use a kayak. Your side bends, same thing. You can use your boat, just pull on the cockpit. And then of course, a band for your twists, okay? The next thing I'm gonna show you are a few ways to stretch your QL. This will be really great to do before and after paddling, but especially after a long bout of kayaking, because your sides are gonna get really sore probably. So that's next. We're gonna come to the floor. Okay, I have a couple of ways to stretch your QL. One doesn't require anything, and the other one, you'll use an exercise ball if you have it. So to stretch your QL, say I'm trying to stretch my left side, I'm gonna put my right foot forward. You've seen me do this before. This is great for your hips, this is great for your back, and it just so happens your QL helps in the movement of both the hip and the back. So 1 foot forward, you're gonna tuck the hips under, and lean forward. What that's gonna do is that's the starting point of your QL stretch. That same hand, whatever QL that I'm stretching, it's gonna reach overhead, and then I'm gonna reach across my body to the other side. So essentially I'm trying to lengthen the space between my hip and the base of my ribs. So here's what it looks like from the front. My hips are forward as far as is comfortable. My arm reaches tall, and then, like I said, I'm going straight to the other side, and you're breathing into this space. Another one, if you don't want to do half kneeling, is it's called a flank stretch. It's pretty brutal in my opinion. I don't really have too many people do this unless you already have some pretty good flexibility in your hip, but we'll stretch your right one with this. So 1 foot comes forward, the opposite leg of the muscle you're stretching comes out. So if I'm stretching my right QL, my left foot is out, left hand on the inside of my left leg, right arm reaches tall. The biggest thing here is your heart or your sternum needs to be facing forward the whole time. I'm pressing my right hip into the ground as I lean away and let gravity take over the top part of my body. So from here, this is one, if you're really tight, it can take your breath away. So try it at your own risk. But just make sure that you're not folding forward towards your knee, that you're staying heart open. And finally, a really good stretch that you can do with the ball, probably the most gentle of them all. So again, if I want to stretch my right side, I'm putting my left hip to the ball. You can start beside a wall, a countertop, a chair, whatever you have, especially if you're not comfortable with your balance. Right foot forward, so same stance as the QL stretch, the half kneeling one. And then what you're gonna do is just lay on your ball. Your arm will come overhead. And then if you feel really comfortable, you can take both knees down. You can straighten your legs if you have that kind of room. Right now, I'm just doing this in my apartment, so space is a little limited. And then you breathe. Head is relaxed. So for your stretches, for the first stretch, you can hold them all for 15 to 20 seconds. And you can do them a few times each. It won't hurt to do them every day, especially if you're feeling pretty tight in your hips. So yeah, if you strengthen a couple times a week, And if you stretch, especially after kayaking, your QL should be good to go. And you may find that things like your roll become faster when you're turning to do your sweep strokes or spins or something like that. Even your rotation and your cartwheels can become a lot quicker. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm just making videos based on issues that people are having, questions that people have. So if you have an injury or just any specific questions about training for kayaking, please let me know and I'll be happy to do a video. Thanks.